We're back with another review of a Friday night flashback. This time it's Adventure Island 2 for the NES. This one came out a year or two after the first Adventure Island, which was actually called Hudson's Adventure Island. Adventure Island 2 and Adventure Island 3 didn't get called Hudson's Adventure Island. They were just called Adventure Island 2 and 3. This one I like better than the first one because there's just more to it. There's 4 dinosaurs. On the stream, I didn't manage to get the 4th dinosaur. I think it's a pink or purple one that shoots out other projectiles other than the spark that the blue one shoots out. There's the blue one that shoots out the sparks. There's the pterodactyl that shoots kind of like bomb things, and then there's a one that you swim with that doesn't really do anything. He just swims. He swims good, so he's good to use in those water stages. This one's also got an inventory system that if you find at the end of a stage, if you don't want to take the dinosaur into the next stage, or if you want to save one of the water dinosaurs for a water stage, you're able to do that, or it's the same thing with an axe. The thing is, the stages, you can go through the stages without an axe. It's harder to do, but you can do it. But also, you get a point bonus at the end. I think it's like a 2,000 point bonus if you go through the whole stage without an axe. One of the negative things about this game that I want to talk about is every time you get killed, you end up at the beginning of the stage. Now, it's not really a bad thing most of the time because most of the stages are not long, but a lot of times the axe and other things are kind of scarce. So that's the last thing you want to be trying to go through a bad area without an axe and or without some sort of weapon of some sort, and or no dinosaur either. The underwater stages, sometimes they have spikes, and if you go up into the spikes or you go down into the spikes, those will kill you. Like the first Adventure Island, and I think even the third one's like this. If you get hit once, you die. If you're on a dinosaur and you get hit once, you just lose the dinosaur. Same thing with like the skateboard. If you're on the skateboard, you can hit them once, or you can run into a rock. You just lose the skateboard. You don't die. But another thing is when you die, kind of like on Super Mario Brothers 3, when you die on this one, if you die going to defeat a boss, the boss will move to a different level. Therefore, you still have to go through the level that you're currently on, plus the next level that the boss went to, and then fight the boss. I did find out that if you do not have an axe through a boss level, it will give you an axe toward the end of the boss level. That way you at least have an axe to fight them with. And, that's a good thing for the game, that it at least gives you that, so that you can at least fight the boss, because otherwise I don't know that you could really beat the game without using the axe. I mean, unless you just kept one of the dinosaurs with you the whole time. You'd have to have something. The pterodactyl, when you use it drains your life really, really fast. So don't think that you're just going to get the pterodactyl and ride to the end of the level and that's going to be it. You're not going to be able to do that because your life will drain so much quicker. That's another way that you can die in the game. If you don't keep collecting fruits and keep your health meter up, your health meter is essentially the timer from like Super Mario Brothers and games like that. And if you don't get to the end of the level within that time period, or if you don't keep getting fruits within that area, you end up dying that way too. The good thing about this game is I think there's infinite continues, and you can actually continue from, I think you start back, like if you are on Island 2 and you went all the way through and you die and you lose your last life at the boss, I think you still have to go back through the entire world. But the good thing, like this game, is with some of the other games, it's trial and error. So a lot of times you'll remember where an enemy's at that gave you problems before or anything else. I like to go through most of the stages and jump and just throw the axe. Just jump and throw the axe because a lot of times that'll eliminate an enemy that may be a little bit forward on there because they have enough traps to kind of get you on stuff anyway. I went a little bit further on the playthrough than I meant to, and it was really only because I was having a pretty good run. I didn't want to beat the entire game because I want to do a playthrough, but I know it's going to get harder. I got up to the fourth world, which was the ice world, and I know the game is going to get harder as it goes on up. There's 8 worlds. The first boss that you have to fight is that one that's up against the wall, and you just have to make sure the little green things don't come out and hit you, or that he doesn't hit you with the shot or anything. Not too bad. The second enemy is in the water, and you have to make sure you don't get hit by his projectiles or by the top or the bottom of the water. And you can only throw axes and hit him when the shell is open. So you have to kind of work the buttons a little bit on that. The third boss, which I had only faced him the first time, though. Technically, I went through the desert land and didn't have too much of a problem. And that's the first time I've ever went through the desert land. And so I went through that desert land and I got to the boss there, and I noticed I couldn't hit him from the platforms I was standing on. So what I started doing is I just jumped on down there and just jumped up, threw a few over that way, and I'd jump up on a pedestal until I found out where he was going to be the next time, and then just jump down and do it again. And that ended up defeating him. Probably wasn't the exact way that I was supposed to do it, but that's the way I done it. I expected the Iceland to be slippery. The first couple stages were not slippery, so I don't know if that comes a little bit later or if it happens at all. And then just kind of quit the stream after about an hour. I like the game. I really do. I like the game. I like it better than the first one. The second one might be my favorite. I'm not sure if the second one or the third one's my favorite. One of them is, and the other one's really close. Is a really close second. I like number 2 and number 3. And don't get me wrong, I like number 1, but there are more cons for number 1 than there are on the other games. And it makes it a little, I won't say it makes it bland or like blah to play, but it kind of makes it less, once you get on up there toward the end, it makes it less fun to play because there's really no options. I mean, besides weapons, there's really no options. And you have to use that continue trick, because if you don't know where stuff's at, or you can't do this or that, oh, excuse me, you're gonna have problems. You're gonna have a lot of problems. But like I said, later on, we're gonna try to do a playthrough of Adventure Island 2, and we'll probably do Adventure Island 3 Friday night flashback next Friday. I'll let you guys see Adventure Island 3, see what you think of it too. Another good thing is Adventure Island 2 has a couple of different codes. One of them is I think it's like infinite lives, but you have to do, or maybe it's infinite continues, but you have to do something specific. We're not really going to worry about that. I would more so either use save states on what I've got, or I'm going to be using the level select code, which already puts you a little further on up if you beat certain areas. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I didn't really have too much of a problem until I got to the fourth world. So we'll see how many playthroughs it might be. It might only be 2 because it might be able to make it to the fourth world, and through the fourth world the first time, and might be able to make it on through the second time. I don't really know, because I don't know if the game, how much harder the game gets as you get toward the end. So it may take more than 2 playthroughs. It may take 4 or 5. I'm not real sure. But I'm thinking that it can be beat, and I'm thinking that we're going to try to do that. Also, another thing, hopefully this next week, maybe hopefully over the weekend and this week, we can go ahead and try to get that NHL playthrough done. We're in the playoffs, won 4 games. Got to win 12 more. The bad thing, the thing is, we swept Kalamazoo, but Fort Wayne swept Toledo. So now we got to play the Fort Wayne Comets in a best of 7 series, and then the winner of that would go face the Wichita Thunder or the Tulsa Oilers. I have not played the Thunder. I have not played the Oilers. The first seed in the other side in the Eastern Conference went down in the first round. So that kind of causes chaos as well. But the least amount of games that we can now play is 12, which it was a total of 16, but now it's 12. The most amount of games was 28, and now it's down to the 21. So we'll be playing between 12 to 21 games. I hope it's only 12 games, but when you get in the playoffs, you really don't know what you're going to run into. You don't really know what a team's going to do in the playoffs. I mean, we've seen Fort Wayne a lot. Does it make it any easier? Not really. You can see a team 20, 30 times during especially like on baseball games and stuff. You can see them during the regular season a bunch of times, know their lineups, inside and out. And it's the same thing in hockey. You can know those lines, defensive pairings up and down the board. And it don't really make it any easier. I mean, you can know theirs, and it really doesn't make it any easier. So, but like against Kalamazoo, we had a good win-loss record during the season. Against Fort Wayne, same deal. And against if Toledo would have made it, it would have been the same thing. All 3 teams we had a pretty good win-loss record against. So weren't really too worried about it in there. So we'll see how that works, and when we start that, like I said, we hope it's just 12 games instead of 21 more. Because if it's just going to be 12 games, we can have it done by Monday or so, or Tuesday or something like that. So we'll see what we're going to do on that, and may start another playthrough on after the Adventure Island 2. I'm not real sure what we're planning on doing, because I really haven't come up with another plan outside of Adventure Island streams yet. I know there's some other streams going forward that we want to do, that I want to do on some of these games, because some of these games I want to beat. Some of them I haven't beat. Some of them I haven't even played. I've seen gameplay footage of them, and just haven't played them. I'm gonna start labeling it as gameplay instead of play through, because we really don't play through it. We really just show you gameplay. But back on Adventure Island 2, is it a good game? I think it's a good game. Music gets a little repetitive, but a couple of the musics I think they're really good in the game. I think the game is done really well. I think it's really good. I really like it. like I said, it's one of my favorites of the series, if not my favorite of the series. And you know, it's one of those. It's one of those games that you know I could sit there and play for hours and just go through. It's a nice little platformer. Um, I tend to like platformers pretty good, so. But like I said, be watching for the playthrough for that, and be watching on the playthroughs on the hockey to see how far we get on that one, and to see how long it takes us there. So until until next time when we get back to you, we'll see you then.